All right, so welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little sit down, and I am going to go through how you can start a weight training program. So I truly believe that lifting weights is the best form of exercise that people can do. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can start at any age, especially if you are, getting older. It is so important because it is going to help preserve and help you grow more muscle mass, because we tend to lose muscle mass as we age. Women, especially as you're entering those menopause years, and it's also bone protective. So again, for men and women, we want to help stave off any of those issues that are going to, affect our ability as we age to play with our kids or grandkids or walk your dog, just be able to get up and down off of the couch. So cardio is very important for your heart health, and I still do cardio, but weight training, I believe, is something that is the most beneficial because it is going to help you outside of the gym. So when you're doing cardio, that's great. And like I said, it's great for your heart health. I think of it more as a way to create a deficit. So if you're trying to lose body fat, you can utilize cardio as well as your food intake and creating that calorie deficit through that. I'm not really going to talk about cardio in this video. Maybe I'll do another video about cardio. But for weight training, it is going to benefit you outside of the gym, meaning it creates your lean muscle mass, right? So you are able to essentially burn more calories at rest, and you are able to essentially eat more because a stronger, more muscular body requires more energy intake, and muscle takes up less space than fat. So don't necessarily rely on the scale. If you're new to weight training, you might be losing body fat and gaining muscle at the same time. So looking at the scale isn't really the best gauge of progress, because you might be losing pounds of body fat, but you might be gaining pounds of muscle. So there are other ways and measures to test and see if your muscle is truly growing. But usually you can kind of tell because you're getting stronger in the gym. Your clothes might be fitting differently, so you might be in the same size, but your clothes, or maybe you weigh the same, but your clothes, you need a smaller size, like your waist has gone down, or maybe you're going to be building some muscle in areas like your glutes or your quadriceps, or even in your shoulders or your chest, that actually might make you go up a size, but you're actually leaner. So don't get hung up on the number on the scale. I used to do that. I used to let the number on the scale, when I stepped on the scale in the morning, and I still weigh myself every day just as a data point, but it's an objective measure and I don't have any emotion tied to it. So don't let the number on the scale dictate how you're feeling that day, right? So if it's a good day, just because your weight was down, or if it's a bad day because your weight was up, most of that has to do with your water fluid intake. Did you eat late the night before? Did you go to the bathroom? Did you sleep poorly? There's so many more things that affect your day-to-day scale weight. I do weigh myself daily, just like I said, as a data point, because I like to see the trends. And so lifting weights, again, is so beneficial. Obviously, you're going to increase your lean muscle mass. You might burn some body fat, especially if you are new to lifting weights or returning back to the gym after some time off. That's what we call newbie gains. And man, I'm jealous of those people that are in that boat, because I wish I could still get some newbie gains. It is not easy to put on muscle, because your body, it is a very expensive tissue for your body, right? Like your body, like I said before, it needs more fuel. It is definitely easier to put on body fat. And, when people say a pound of muscle weighs more than a pound of fat, it doesn't, because a pound is a pound is a pound. But I think what they're meaning to say is that if you're looking at like a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, that muscle is dense, right? So it's smaller. So like I was saying before, it takes up less space on your body. So you could weigh the same, but you could look completely different. So that's what I was kind of saying, like to not let the number on the scale be such an indication. If you are really just trying to grow muscle, obviously the number on the scale should go up, right? But if you are trying to lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time, which is called body recomposition, which is not always possible. Usually, you know, like there's a saying, if you chase two rabbits, you'll catch none. So if you're chasing two goals, it's kind of hard to reach either goal. But for certain individuals, that is possible. Like I said before, if you are new to the gym and you haven't followed a structured plan before, even if you aren't new to the gym and you've just kind of been like lollygagging around, lifting weights here and there, but you haven't really followed a structured plan, you can still get those newbie gains. And what I mean when I say that is individuals that are new to a weight training plan typically gain muscle at a faster rate than those that are more advanced lifters, right? And that kind of makes sense. I mean, it kind of seems like, man, that kind of stinks, you know? It's like, I've been lifting weights for a few years and you're telling me I still got to work my butt off and I'm only going to gain like 2 pounds of muscle a year. But if you think like, and I'm not quoting like that's exactly how much you would gain if you were an advanced lifter. There are definitely like statistics or I guess rates out there that people have kind of measured, like if you're intermediate, beginner, advanced, how much muscle you can gain. But that's in optimal conditions. You have to be eating, your nutrition has to support those goals. I'm not going to really get into that right now. And I kind of lost my train of thought. So I had to stop, watch the video, and figure out what I was going to say. So for the individuals, I was talking about the chasing the rabbits thing. For the individuals that are new to the gym, they can do what's called a body recomposition. So that's where you're losing body fat and gaining muscle pretty much at the same time. And so those people, you know, are new to the gym. Also, if you have taken a lot of time off, maybe you're returning back after an injury that kept you out for a prolonged period of time. I'm not saying like you had the flu and you were out of the gym for a week, but if you had back surgery, knee surgery, I don't know, if you were out for a while, or for other reasons, if you took a long extended time off of the gym, you can kind of like reignite those newbie gains. Also for individuals that haven't really followed a good structured plan, if maybe you just go into the gym and you kind of just mess around and you're not really following a plan where you're progressing, because you need to make sure that you're progressing from session to session, and I will talk about that next. So how does your muscle grow? This is a very simplified, unscientific explanation, but basically you go into the gym, you do, let's just say, a leg press, and your muscles think, oh, wow, that was hard. She is making me work. Okay, I better get stronger. So your muscles break down, the fibers build back up, and they get stronger. So there are kind of like two camps. So there's like hypertrophy. That's when your muscles are bigger, like you can see them, So like if you flex your bicep is actually bigger. And then there's strength. So that's where you actually can lift more. And I always tell people, because, like it'll be time to move and lift a couch or something, and everybody in my family is like, come on. And you're like, aren't you a bodybuilder? And I'm like, I just look strong. I'm not really strong. I am strong, but I'm more of a hypertrophy based lifter. Like that's what I'm going for, is like to look strong. I don't know, that sounds really bad. Like of course I want to be strong, but I want the appearance of like a lean, muscular physique, right? So that's my goal. Obviously all the other things too, like I said, like preventing osteoporosis, having a better metabolism, also improves your sleep, all those things. So progressive overload is the way that your muscles continue to grow over time. So it's sort of like, equate it with running. If you start running and you're doing a 10-minute mile for three miles and you do that 3 times a week, at first that's going to be challenging for your body. But if that's all you ever do and you keep the same pace, the same intensity, the same duration, your body's just going to kind of acclimate to that, right? So any activity is the same, swimming, whatever. If you want to get stronger, you need to do what's called progressive overload. And that can be implemented multiple ways. Most people think of it as just lifting heavier. So if today I leg pressed, 400, then next time I'm going to try to add some weight to the bar. So maybe, even 5 pounds, 10 pounds, adding weight to the bar. You can also increase your reps. So your reps are the number that you do without stopping, right? So like if I did that leg press again and I was programmed to do 4 sets of 10 is the repetitions, and 4 sets of those. And then you rest between the sets. So I could progressively overload by increasing my reps. I could progressively overload by increasing my sets. So instead of 4 sets of 10, I was doing 5 sets of 10. There's other ways, shortened rest periods. I don't really like that one. There's a lot of intensifiers you could do, like drop sets and things like that. You also need to be lifting with intensity. So that should be happening if you're implementing progressive overload, but you should be going to, so there's different theories on this. Like some people say you should end every set, like you should go to failure. And there's research that shows like an RPE, which is like a rate of perceived exertion, anywhere between like a 7 to 10. So 10 would be like all out effort, and failure means you could not physically do another rep. Not just like, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling it. No, it means like you and that leg press, you could not physically push up another rep. So if you've never done that, like try it. If you've never experienced what that feels like. So what I have my clients do is I encourage them to get to like an RP of like 8 or 9. And I do want them to go to failure sometimes, but not every set, every exercise, every workout. Just because I want them to be able to go, I want them to enjoy it too. And research does show that you can still gain muscle if you are working in that like RPE of, it might even be 7. Don't quote me. I'm not quoting research here. I'm just kind of putting all this together in kind of what I do. But 7 or 8 as an RPE, but again, going to failure sometimes. So I would say, I go to failure maybe on my last set of an exercise, but not every single set every time. And so just try it to see like, wow, can I do one more rep? If you can keep going and going and going, you need to lift heavier weights. If you're doing like 3 pounds for bicep curls, I'm sorry, but a gallon of milk, how many times can you lift up a gallon of milk or a sack of groceries? That's more than 3 pounds. I bet you can do more than 3 pounds. So, and you know what? If you can't do it, just like if I program my clients 4 sets of 10 and they pick up a 20-pound dumbbell for their bicep curls and they try it and they can only do 2, well, okay, now like go down to 15 or 17.5 or do as many reps as you can, so to grow your muscles. So going back to that word hypertrophy, again, that's usually working in a rep range of like 8 to 15. But research shows that anywhere up to like 30 reps, so as long as you're going to failure, you can grow muscle. So if you want to lift a little bit lighter weights and do more repetitions, like that's going to take longer, right? So I don't recommend that, but you certainly can. It is kind of nice, like sometimes like for lateral raises, because a lateral raise, that's where you've got your dumbbell, right? And you're lifting out here like this. Those are hard to progress on with load. Meaning if you start out, someone might start out, it's very typical for someone to start out with 5 pounds. Then they might graduate to 8, 10, 12, 15. Right now, I think I'm doing 17.5, but I'm doing like sets of 15. And then I kind of end with like some little pulses and some intensifiers, because it's not true failure. But if I do 20s, which I can do, I'm kind of losing my form. So that's another thing with going to failure. Like there's mechanical failure and there's technical failure. I'm not going to go into both of those, but obviously you want to keep good form. So I tell my clients, lift as heavy as you can with proper form. So you want to make sure you're employing that progressive overload. You want to make sure that you're following a structured program and that you are tracking your weights, because if you're not tracking it, how do you know you're progressing, right? We can't manage what we don't measure. You have to be able to go back and look and say, yeah, last week I did 375 on the leg press. Today I'm doing 400. Sweet. I improved, right? So that structured training plan. And for most people that are beginners, I suggest like 3 times a week, full body. And then there's all sorts of different splits. Like there's upper, lower. Some people do like push-pull legs. Some people do, like right now I'm kind of doing a body part split, but it's essentially like I'm doing like 3 lower body days. I'm going to be changing this because it's a little, I'm going to be going down to 5 days, I think, because right now I'm training 6 days a week. And it's I want to switch to 5. But there's a lot of different training plans you can follow. Like there's not one right way to train in terms of like what kind of plan you're following. It just depends on what your goals are. So that's kind of the rundown of starting a weight training plan. You can even start with body weight. You can use bands. You don't even have to have access to a gym. Certainly you're going to progress faster if you have access to a gym with its machines and its dumbbells and squat racks and all those kinds of things. But if you're new, I don't know why I said it like that. If you're new to lifting weights or resistance training, body weight is great to start out with. Bands, you can just work out at home. But I can't really do that. We used to even have like a full cable machine and squat rack, and during COVID, that was very helpful. My husband built a squat rack. He made a kettlebell because he was an iron worker. He made a kettlebell like out of like iron, and he engraved it for me. It was really sweet. But yeah, so I don't know if I just have like trauma from having to work out at home, but I don't really enjoy working out at home. But some people do, or like that's all that they can fit into their lifestyle. So that's fine too. You probably will get to a point where you max out what you can do because, like I said, you want to be able to progressively overload, and it's hard to progressively overload with your body weight. And just to wrap up here, I'll just kind of talk about some misconceptions. So misconceptions is that if you lift weights, you are going to get bulky. I'm going to tell you, most people that think they're bulky from lifting weights, they just have body fat to lose. Sorry to say that. Because it is not that easy to gain muscle. I have been trying like heck to get bulky. I mean, not really, not like I want to be like huge, but it's hard. So, and it's also not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go to the gym and then the next morning you're going to wake up and you're going to have like Popeye forearms and like Arnold Schwarzenegger's pecs, and it's not going to happen. And if you get too big, guess what you start doing? You start lifting lighter weights or going less frequently. I mean, you just make a change, right? It's not that big of a deal. I promise you, you will not, I wish it was that easy. You will not be bulky. So that's a misconception. Another misconception is that it's not safe. And if you are lifting with proper form and you have good guidance and you're following a good program written by somebody that knows what they're doing, or working with a trainer that knows what he or she is doing, it is not dangerous. I can tell you, I actually have gotten injured one time from lifting weights, and it's because I was lifting a 45 off of like a squat rack, you know, where it's placed, and I turned too fast and I kind of like tweaked my back. It wasn't because I was under a squat bar. It wasn't because I, you know, tore my bicep because I was doing bicep curls. I mean, I haven't gotten injured because of lifting weights. I just got injured because I was careless and I just lifted up a 45 and turned, like without lifting with my legs. And, you know, it probably would have happened if I would have lifted up a grocery sack. I mean, it wasn't because of the weights. But, and I'm not here to knock running, because I have a lot of runners in my life, and I know running is great. I actually think running is great because it is very accessible. Like, all you need is a pair of running shoes and you can just like leave your house and go run anywhere, right? But I have gotten hurt more running, like more than I can count on both hands. You know, I've gotten stress fractures, shin splints. I've gotten bit by a goose. I've gotten bit by a dog. I've fallen. One time I fell in downtown Chicago running, and I got my knee was just disgusting. I jacked that knee up so bad. It was so nasty and bloody. And I had white pants to wear that night. I think I still wore them. I just had a huge bandage. I think I had to wrap definitely had to bandage it and then wrap an ace bandage around it. I mean, I've tripped. Yeah, probably getting bit by a goose was the worst thing. But yeah, I got bit by a dog and I had to go get a tetanus shot. Well, I'm sure I've got other injuries. Stress fractures, like I said, shin splints. Yeah. So, but again, if you like to run, keep at it. But my point is, I've gotten more injuries from running than I have from lifting weights. And so those are probably the two biggest misconceptions, is that, you know, it is going to make you bulky, or people think it's just for bodybuilders. Everybody should be lifting weights. I really think so. So I hope this answers maybe some of your questions. Maybe you didn't have questions, but maybe this helps clarify some things. Obviously, I am a health coach. So if you are looking for a structured training plan, I would love to help you out with that. I also, I help my clients with their nutrition, because nutrition needs to support your goals in the gym as well. And when I coach my clients, I put their workout in it. I have an app, and so it's really easy because you just open up your app at the gym. There's your workout. You can track your weights and your sets and your reps, and then it's there for you next time with that previous workout, so you can see if you are increasing. It's going to keep what you did last time, so then you can progressively overload. So anyways, if you have not yet started lifting weights, or maybe you haven't done it in a while, I highly recommend that you give it another shot, because it is great for your health and your longevity, and it also boosts your confidence. I mean, how awesome do you feel when you can, lift some heavy stuff, right? It's cool. It's cool. You should do it. Okay. Thanks for watching this one, and let me know if there's anything else that you want to see or hear from me, and I will do that for you within reason. So have a great day. Talk to you later.